Sir Arthur Eggar was a British lawyer and rower. Born in 1877, he attended and rowed for Cambridge, served in the Middle East, and worked as law professor and law advisor to the Burmese government. In 1923, he founded the Rangoon University Boat Club. In 1931, he was the prosecutor in the trial of Saya Sun, former monk and leader of the Saya Sun rebellion of 1930 to 1932, ending with the hanging of Saya Sun and many other figures of the rebellion. He died in 1958. Eggar, as a writer, published works mostly on law, such as his Laws of India and Burma. However, he wrote a few books of fiction, chiefly today's subject, Hatanee, A Tale of Burmese Superstition. In 1932, he seems to have published another work of fiction, The Flying Dutchman. It is exceedingly rare, and I have not found out any information about it. The book begins with a story of a woman being killed by fellow villagers, and links the story of the book to such events happening, namely witchcraft accusations. Then the narrative switches to the origins of the Shwedagon pagoda, and how the caste of pagoda slaves came to be by orders of King Along Paya, the first Konbaung king of Burma, making them slaves being the only way to avoid them being put to death, but turning them into outcasts without rights. We then switch to the Zayat boarding house, located nearby the pagoda, and housing Thomas Jackson, who, having lost most of his family fortune, is eking out an existence in India and Burma, trying to find any good work in the colonial administration. He arrives in Rangoon in answer to an ad in the paper looking for an English tutor, and spends his time before he can begin by taking part in a rowing race between a group of Britons and native Burmans from Tanbin. One of the Tanbin men, Baso, comes to Rangoon to look over Jackson before the race, and also to visit the local pagoda, because he wants to marry a pagoda slave, Wacho, but her mother wants 200 rupees in exchange. He makes that and then some the following day, but loses all of his money racing against the Britons, so he steals her away. But Kochi, his rival, makes the villagers at Tanbin harass and drive him out. They leave and find an abandoned house in a clearing and move in, but remember the house was said to belong to a hunter, who died and, because he hunted, came back as a man-faced deer monstrosity. Later that night, 3 Karen men armed with a gun force their way in, and reveal they work for the local scripture teacher, making people give him their money before forcing Masao to become a Christian or face starvation. That still does not prevent Kochi leading a mob to try and kill Poicho, asserting she is a were-tiger that had been seen in the vicinity. Jackson actually helps to defend Baso and Poicho from the mob because he was coincidentally in a nearby village. Unfortunately, the idea of a were-tiger is shot in the foot when the story turns into an annoyingly cliched Scooby-Doo plot of a villainous priest dressed in a monster costume, a character who, by the way, never shows up in the book, is only referenced about twice in passing, and is only ever seen dead. It is unfortunate, as there are many atmospheric moments before this, including Baso trying to appease forest spirits to allow him a good hunt, and nearly being killed by wild animals he assumes are demons, but even this can save the disappointing ending.